Some say it's the journey that matters more than the destination. But at KittyHawk, we feel that the world is headed to a future of sustainable abundance, one that benefits all citizens of this planet, and that getting there faster matters. So we seek to accelerate this journey alongside the mission-driven entrepreneurs who relentlessly work to bring this abundant future into the present. This is what drives us forward and what motivates us every day at KittyHawk. We see a horizon of golden possibilities ablaze with technologies that improve lives and protect our planet, securing a better tomorrow for us all. So while we agree on the merits of a joyous and mindful journey, we also feel that when it comes to creating a future laden with the best characteristics of humanity, getting there as quickly as possible matters. KittyHawk, take flight. Our guest today is Dr. Peter Diamandis. Peter has a long and storied history at the center of incredible technological innovation. He's been an entrepreneur many times, having founded XPRIZE, International Space University, Singularity University, Cellularity, and more. He's an accomplished author, having written the New York Times bestsellers Abundance, The Future is Better Than You Think, and Bold, How to Go Big, Create Wealth, and Impact the World. Peter is an extraordinary human and someone who is constantly pushing himself and those around him to think bigger and to have a greater impact. Whether that's working with Elon Musk to launch a $100 million carbon capture XPRIZE, which they did last year, or helping guide his Abundance 360 members to craft their massively transformative purposes, Peter is constantly pushing us to reimagine ourselves and what we're capable of, and to work towards creating a more abundant and just world for all. Peter has been a great friend and supporter of my work at Singularity and now at KittyHawk, and it's with great gratitude and much respect and love that I welcome him here today.
All right.
Hey, Will.
Peter.
Good to see you, buddy.
How are you, my friend?
I need to get a copy. I need to get a copy of that video and send it to my mom.
Yeah, we need to update a little bit.
It's fine. It's great to be here. Super great to be here.
It is awesome to have you here, as always. I really appreciate you making some time late on well, I guess not too late, but on a beautiful Friday afternoon here in Los Angeles.
It is. That it is.
Amazing. So we're going to spend most of our time today talking about AI and longevity. Are you hearing an echo, or does this sound okay?
I hear you perfect.
You hear me perfect. Great. Would love to spend most of our time talking about two areas that I know are incredibly near and dear to you, and that you have a deep passion about and a deep expertise around, and that's AI and longevity. And I thought we'd kick things off by initially talking about AI. And I was thinking it's been about a year since we had the opportunity to do this again. And a lot has happened in that year, especially in the AI arena. And so maybe I thought we could talk about kind of where the state of the union in AI, what you're seeing, what you're excited about,
Sure.
and kind of see where that takes us.
Yeah, happily. It's an area that I'm building companies in, investing in, doing podcasts on, writing about. And so I'm in it, in the thick of it. And hopefully everybody listening, is absorbing it. And so how do I summarize this? It is the single most powerful technology the human race has ever created. It is going to change every industry, every company, how we govern our nations, how we raise our kids. There is, I like to say there are two kinds of companies at the end of this decade, those fully utilizing AI and those out of business. And it's that black and white. I was just talking to Jack Hittery from Sandbox AQ and just discussing how, in fact, AI is reinventing the entire healthcare industry. And I just finished my September Longevity Platinum trip, and the number one driving force for reinventing how long we're going to live is AI. It's interesting. I think it's something important for folks to realize that this extraordinarily powerful technology is also free to everybody. If you'd gone back and said, listen, in 20 years, we're going to have this thing called GPT-4o and ChatGPT and Gemini and all, they can answer any question and take in the global, and how much you think it will cost per person, I think you would have answered, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of dollars for a subscription, and millions of dollars.
Certainly not $20, that's for sure.
Yeah, and for others, from XAI and others, and is free. So it's insane. And so this is I have to think about AI more as a infrastructure, global infrastructure play. So a number of things are going on. So that's incredible. Number two, the hyperscalers are committing, tens to hundreds of billions of dollars, and they're not doing this on an ROI basis. In other words, there's no business plan where they're saying, okay, we're going to put in $50 billion and here's our returns. It's, we have to build this godlike technology which will be worth trillions. I don't know how or where. And if we don't, we're toast. So there is an AI arms race going on that I think is disconnected to ROIs in some way, which is fascinating. Then we've got folks like Elon. I'm an investor in XAI. I was there early on one of the investor calls with Elon, who, like you said in the video, I've known him for 24 years now. He said, okay, we're going to raise the money and we are going to have the largest, GPT farm or a GPU farm by the end of the summer. And he made this proclamation of creating this cluster bigger than anybody, and damned if he didn't do it, right? He raised $6 billion on $18 billion, and 122 days later, he is
up and running.
He's up and running with Colossus. Yeah.
Do you think there's any chance that all these dollars that are being invested are going to be not flushed, but are not going to be the path to the ultimate AGI solution here?
I think no one really knows, and no one can really. No one can't afford. It's like you can't afford not to make the bet. But what I think about, and as an investor myself, and I think you probably do as well, is all of these guys are going to beat their brains out to create the most powerful large language models. And where I'm investing my dollars is not worrying about the large language model in the middle. I'm worrying about companies that have incredible user base. They've got access to thousands or millions of customers, and then they have incredible data, and then they plug in whatever LLM in the middle is the best for them to use. And so, investing in companies that have got, relationships with end users and unique data. And then just like, for example, in Fountain, what we've been building in Fountain Life is we have incredible members database. And then we have for each of those members a 200 gigabytes of data per member. And so we're not building large language models. Those exist. We're training them on functional medicine, but we're in the LLM is in the middle, and we service the member with their data using whatever happens to be the best large language model accessible at the time.
And you're pulling out, actionable insights from that data now?
Yeah, we are, because there's no way that any human physician can interpret all of the data, right? We are a multimodal. So anybody who doesn't know, Fountain Life, we have 4 centers today. These are 10,000 square foot diagnostic centers in New York, Orlando, Naples, and Dallas. We just had a big announcement on Thursday in Miami. I was there with Tony Robbins, who's a co-founder with me, and Sam Nazarian, announcing 25 centers between now and 2030 in different parts around the world at 6-star resorts and large residential 6-star developments. And our mission is that when people come and digitize themselves, upload themselves, and it's multimodal, it's full body MRI, brain vasculature, a coronary CT, a lung CT, a DEXA scan, genomics, everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And then all that data is getting fed into the AI systems, and the doctors are using the AI to analyze it, but there's nobody who can handle the amount of data coming out of a typical medical checkup. How do you look at 3.2 billion base pairs and understand what it means? You can't. AI can. And it is what's going to drive this revolution. But it's going to be AI in every industry, in manufacturing, in transportation, in, name your industry. It reminds me, and Will, you and I have had this conversation on stage multiple times. It reminds me of 100 years ago when electricity was coming online, and people had a mechanical drill, and then they electrified it, and they had a mechanical dishwasher, and they electrified it, and electricity transformed everything, and AI is the new electricity transforming everything.
And you were incredibly, I think of you naturally as an optimist. I assume that spills over into AI, and you're really envisioning an abundant future for humanity as a result of AI and a lot of the other technological changes that take place.
I am the eternal optimist. I'm the guy where the glass is not half full, it's overflowing. And I also understand the interim dangers. I think that the long run, AI is going to uplift and have the ability to uplift every man, woman, and child on the planet, period, end of statement. In the interim, there's going to be turbulent challenges. Some of that turbulence is kind of come from the fact that when we call technological socialism, where AI and robotics are doing everything for you, and you don't have a challenged life. We humans don't do well without challenges. If you have a video game that's too easy to win all the time, you stop playing.
Right.
So how do we make sure that we are up-leveling our massive transformative purpose, our moonshot, so that we use this technology to go further and higher? I'm on the board of something called FII in Saudi Arabia, which is sort of Davos, the new Davos equivalent. It's 6,000 people in the global finance world. And I chair their AI committee. And this year, I'm running a conversation on policies around how do we anticipate when we have not just AI, but digital superintelligence, artificial superintelligence, what are the potential ramifications, and how do we prepare for that? How do we think about it in advance?
And what are you thinking about in terms of timeline then for AGI?
Well, first of all, as you well know, Will, AGI is a blurry line. All right. We have talked about when you and I were on multiple stages through Singularity over the last decade plus. There was the Turing test. Well, we blew through the Turing test without noticing. And a lot of people, depends how you define AGI. I could very well argue, been there, done that. We just saw, we saw Claude 3 or 3.5 get an IQ of 101 in testing. And the latest GPT release had an IQ of 120, right? Where global average IQ is 100. So, it's going to be an interesting time. And our goal has got to be, the upside takes care of itself. We have to protect against the downside. And that's the way I'm thinking about it. I had Elon on my stage last year, as you know, at Abundance 360, and also Jeffrey Hinton, and both of them agree on, like, listen, 80% chance it's going to be awesome. We have an incredible future. 20% chance we're screwed. And so we need to protect the 20% downside, and really, if we can protect the downside, the upside will take care of itself. But I think the reality is countries, companies, parents, teachers are not ready for how fast things are going to change, and they're accelerating.
Yeah, you've been talking about that for a long time, and Singularity is the theme for a long time, and it's here, and we're still not ready for it.
Yeah.
Do you think the existing technology or the current technology, the transformer type of models are going to be what ultimately leads to AGI? Or do you think there has to be a fundamental breakthrough before that happens?
So there's a few ways to think about it. So we're at, GPT-4, which people describe as a intelligent high schooler, college student. GPT-5, which is around the corner, and we're starting to see elements of it being released by OpenAI, and I know that there are incredible other models out there. One of the companies I invested in, Liquid AI, is benchmarked like 1,000 times faster than GPT. It's crazy stuff coming. And there's lots of different approaches we don't even know about coming our way that are going to converge. Anyway, we're going to see a GPT-5 release sometime and called GPT-5 sometime in the next 12 months probably. And the belief is that it will be at a PhD level expert or multiple PhD level, and that this kind of an AI system will be self-recursive, meaning it will be able to optimize itself if we let it. So
Interesting.
AI building AI. So this is where it becomes interesting, and we have so if the current systems are not able to if they're landlocked, if there's some limitations on what they can do, all you need to do is let the systems experiment with other approaches. I mean, think about it. This is what evolution did with life over the last 4 billion years, right? Life, 4 billion years ago as prokaryotes, and then a billion years later as eukaryotes, and then as multicellular life couldn't do what we do today, but it allowed itself to evolve under Darwinian situations. But you can accelerate that evolution massively. And so the idea is, will we have AI be able to direct its own evolution? And if there needs to be a different offshoot, away from transformers, we'll figure that out.
You touched on this briefly, and I don't want to take away from the longevity focus, but maybe you can share some of the exciting things that you're seeing in the health and medicine world, and if Sandbox is doing, some of the interesting things that I'm sure Jack is up to as well.
Yeah, sure. So this is the way I think about this, and I know you do as well, is that AI and longevity, or AI and biotech, are the two biggest multi-trillion-dollar markets that we'll ever see. We can talk about why AI, and we should talk about humanoid robotics as well when we talk about AI, because that is the physical instantiation of AI. In the biotech world, one example of the boundary condition there is what DeepMind has done with its alpha products. So AlphaFold was an AI model that was able to predict the exact three-dimensional structure of a protein. When I was in medical school, 3 decades ago, the supercomputing problem at the time was, could you take an amino acid sequence that was coded for in the DNA, right, of 1,000 amino acids, that's manufactured inside of a ribosome, and the amino acids are linked together, and as they come out, they begin to fold from electrostatic forces into a three-dimensional protein that always folds the same. And the structure of that protein determines what that protein does. And we do what we do as humans because of proteins in our body. They're enzymes, they're your muscles, they're structures, everything. And so the idea of being able to predict that folding was so difficult, so untenable, that for 30 years it went unsolved. And then DeepMind created an AI called AlphaFold that solved the problem with such accuracy that the folding was within a single atomic radius precision. Then DeepMind announced AlphaFold 3, which was an AI model able to predict the interaction of any molecules of life. So if you put a sugar and a protein and a nucleic acid in proximity, how they would attract and interact with each other. And then that was huge. And then they just recently, a couple weeks ago, announced something called Alpha Proteo, which is, if you need a protein to block an active site or to fix a molecular problem or to solve a disease, you can now put that structure you want into Alpha Proteo, and it will give you the amino acid sequence of the protein that you need to solve the disease. So it's basically helping us create precision drugs. And the way we produced drugs in the past was we'd go into the Amazon, you'd hack down a bunch of trees, you'd crush up the plants, you'd see what unique molecules were in there, you'd give them to mice, you see if they did anything, and then, so it's no wonder, drug discovery and approval process was like $10 billion or $3 billion in 10 years. But now the idea, and we both know, in silico medicine with Alex Zavaronkov and others, is that you can produce the drug you want in silico and then actually produce it and test it much faster. And so that's extraordinary. Next up, genome sequencing, from $3 billion to $100 million to $200, just 5 times faster than Moore's law. And of course, not just sequencing your genome, but editing your genome. Being able to say, I've had this hereditary disease through the last 100 generations of my family tree, and now with a single injection, I can cure myself.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's biblical. Cure hereditary
Sickle
blindness,
cell anemia,
and beta thalassemia, and all of these things. So that's huge. And one of the biggest areas of research right now is this whole field of epigenetic reprogramming. So here's a question for you and everybody listening. When you're born, you got 3.2 billion letters from your mom and dad. That genome, your software, is the same when you're 10, when you're 20, when you're 50, when you're 100. So why do you look different? Why don't you have a 6-pack at 100 that you had when you were 18? And the answer is it's not the software you have, it's not the genes that you have, it's which genes are on and which genes are off. And that's called your epigenome, epi from the Greek word from above. And your epigenome, the control of which genes are on or off, change over time. And the latest area of research from folks like David Sinclair and George Church is, in fact, trying to re-engineer, to reverse your epigenome to a more youthful state, to reverse the ravages of aging.
And so David's had some incredible results there. I don't know if you've gotten any recent updates as to how that's progressing through mammal studies.
Yeah, so we went from mice and rats to dogs to primates now, and humans are a step away. I just did my September longevity platinum trip and had 4 of the top epigenetic reprogramming companies on the trip, and it's, these are the companies being backed by Sam Altman and Yuri Milner and Jeff Bezos and Brian Armstrong. And so it's crazy. I mean, the speed at which these fields are changing, and Larry Ellison has just been going, doubling down. He's, a couple of decades
80 years old. That guy looks so incredible. Yeah. Whatever he's doing is working. I've been curious as to what his regimen is.
And he wants to, add another 30 years to his life. So he's investing heavily in these areas. I mean, in AI is the means by which we understand why we age, how to slow it, stop it, and eventually reverse it. And people say, well, can we? And I say, well, listen, you've got species on this planet like bowhead whales that live to 200 years old and Greenland sharks that live to 400 or 500 years old. And why can they live that long and why can't we?
Right.
And it's either a hardware problem or a software problem. And we're going to be able to solve those things. And I think that's the biggest market out there.
So let's officially slide over into longevity here, since we're talking about it anyway. It always feels like some of these breakthroughs are still kind of 10 years away, 20 years away. It sounds like you are very optimistic that we're much closer than that.
Yeah. So there's an idea that Ray Kurzweil, who's really been an incredible friend, mentor, business partner for me, talked about in one of his books called the 3 bridges of longevity. Bridge 1 is what you can do today, right? Bridge 1 is minimizing sugar in your diet, whole plants, sleep, exercise, mindset. There are multiple things you can do today to maximize your chance for extended health span. That's bridge one. Bridge two is a set of technologies like stem cells, like senolytic medicines, like epigenetic reprogramming. There's 12 of these hallmarks of aging. And these are treatments that are available under experimental protocols today to humans, and which are gathering data. Will, you know very well, I raised $141 million last year to launch something called the Health Span XPRIZE. So for those who don't, I'm very proud to be the chairman of the XPRIZE Foundation, and we run...
Maybe explain what the foundation does.
Yeah, sure. So we run large-scale global incentive competitions. What does that mean? The first one I launched 30 years ago this year, hard to believe.
Yeah,
in 1994, I'm a space cadet, wanted to go into space, figured out NASA was never going to get me there. So I organized a $10 million purse for the first team who could build a private spaceship carrying 3 adults up 100 kilometers, come down, land, and do it again inside of 2 weeks. And an incentive competition is a clear objective goal and measurable goal, and then it's open to the world to compete. So that was the first one.
Sponsored by Nusha Ansari and her husband, who is now the CEO of XPRIZE, which is such a cool story.
Yeah, she and the Ansari family put up the 10 million. I put up the first 50K, which is what I could afford at the time, and we had 26 teams from 7 countries compete to win that $10 million, which we called the Ansari XPRIZE in her honor. And a guy named Burt Rutan, funded by Paul Allen, won it. Richard Branson bought the rights to create Virgin Galactic. And since then, we've launched $600 million in XPRIZes for mapping the ocean floor. 4 years ago, I got Elon to fund a $100 million prize for gigaton carbon removal. That's a fun story. We launched in November of last year a $101 million purse with a $10 million bonus, asking teams to demonstrate a therapeutic that could be delivered to you in less than a year that reverses the ravages of aging by a minimum of 10 years, a goal of 20 years. So to win this money, you have to demonstrate that cognitively I'm 20 years younger in terms of my abilities. From an immune function, I'm 20 years younger, and from a mobility, muscular function, I'm 20 years younger. And so that got launched. We have 440 teams that have entered the competition from around the world, so super proud about that. And those teams are going to lead to Bridge 2 technologies. So these are technologies available this decade that can give you an extra 10 or 20 years.
Do these lead to venture-backed companies as well?
They most definitely do. There are companies in this range from concepts at universities to pre-seed, seed, Series A, and I expect great things from these companies. I just had we just visited 50 companies in my longevity platinum trip that I'll speak about in a moment. But Bridge 3 is what Ray Kurzweil refers to as nanotechnology. And nanotechnology is the ability for robotic nanobots. These are molecular machines that you can put into your body and will go around and repair things. And it sounds insane. I like to remind people that the day before something is really a breakthrough, it's a crazy idea. And so nanotechnology has been written about and thought about since the days of Richard Feynman in the late 50s. There's a great book by Eric Drexler, 2 books on the subject, and it's coming. But your job is to not die from something stupid between now and the arrival of that technology, which is why Tony and I created Fountain Life, where we go and we upload ourselves and, from a multimodal standpoint, understand what's going on that you want to repair and then repairing it. Um, and so, those three bridges, the first bridge is to get you to the second bridge is to get you to the third bridge, at which point Ray discusses something called longevity escape velocity, which is science is extending your life for more than a year for every year that you're alive.
And he thinks that is 5 to 10 years away,
sooner
right?
than you think. Yeah, he's pegging it at by the end of the year 2030. Talking to David Sinclair, George Church, they're putting it in the mid 2030s. Again, it's not 30 years from now or 20 years from now. It's the next 10 to 15 years, which is pretty extraordinary.
It is extraordinary. We're living in an amazing, amazing time.
Best time ever.
Very lucky.
Best time ever.
So let's talk a little bit about your longevity, your platinum trip, the one you just finished. Love to hear.
Yeah.
Maybe you could frame up what the event, and I've been lucky enough to go, I think, on the last 5 of these, and just an extraordinary week getting to learn and meet some of the most extraordinary technologists and entrepreneurs in these disciplines.
Yeah, happily. So I see a lot of longevity companies. I see a lot of biotech companies. They come to me as companies seeking my advice, seeking my investment. I see them through the health span XPRIZE. I see them through the books I write. And so I'm tracking 500 plus companies that are, I think, fairly high quality longevity biotech companies. And I run something called the Abundance 360 ecosystem, abundance360.com, for folks interested. And I've been honored to have Will as my executive director of that in the past. Abundance 360 is a group of 500 CEOs, investors, family offices that are with me on a journey to understand all of these technologies and learn about these technologies. And a huge passion in that group around longevity. I mean, naturally, right? And so 5 years ago, I started putting together, and now I'm hearing a little bit of an echo, but 5 years ago, I started putting together something called a longevity platinum trip. And what does that mean? I scan through the 500 companies that I'm measuring, and I pick 50 of them, which are at the top of their game. And I set up a 5-day trip. It's a 5-day, 5-star experience in which a group of 40 VCs, family offices, investors, CEOs, it's selected just only 40, so it's very intimate. And during this 5-day trip, I bring these CEOs and these entrepreneurs and these researchers in to talk about what they're doing. And it's an incredible immersive experience. And folks are on that trip either because they want to meet these companies they can invest in, they have a familial or a family issue, medical issue, and they want to meet the experts in the field to help them solve their issue, or they just want to learn as much as they can. We go from 8 in the morning till 8 at night, and it's an immersive. We have the Longevity Olympics going on during it. And my job is to help people really get their finger on the pulse of what is going on. And it is one of the most extraordinary. I do it twice, once in September and once in October. Next year, I'm just going to do it once. But anyway, I just came back from the September trip. I'll share some of the companies that we did. So we had 3 of the top epigenetic companies. Again, the companies backed by the top billionaires that were there, talking about where we are in this epigenetic journey. Numerous stem cell companies. One company I love called Immunus by Hans Kiersted is developed something called a stem cell exudate. He's identified a particular stem cell that is one of the earliest stem cells, and it puts out the most powerful growth factors, 440 molecules and factors. And he's turned this into a drug, and he just finished phase 1 and 2A, and he shared the results with the group. So a intramuscular injection of just a cc of these growth factors increased, this was into individuals who had severe osteoarthritis, they were elderly, they weren't walking, so they were bedridden. He basically, with one injection, I think it was every 2 weeks, increased muscle mass by 6% in people who were bedridden. And
Wow.
he increased 6-minute walking time by 300%. So, and reduced pain by 75%, reduced their immune age by 30 years. And like, holy shit, this amazing stuff, right? So we're setting it up for my Abundance Platinum members to gain access to an expanded trial with this. Another individual, incredible neurologist, Shelley Jordan, has created a mechanism. So it turns out your hypothalamus in your brain is got your basically acts as very much as the clock of your brain, and he's identified a mechanism that if you give yourself exosomes, or he gives you exosomes, and then he uses ultrasound to open up the blood-brain barrier of the capillaries in the hypothalamus, that he is able to rejuvenate your hypothalamus and restore significant function that people have lost. We met with individuals who have therapies that are reversing Alzheimer's and Parkinson's at a root cause, restoring memories in people. We had Matt Walker, one really leading thinker on sleep, with his new company, which is a wearable that actually induces sleep without having to use Ambien, and is operating as well as Ambien. So anyway, it was amazing, and so
What percentage of these companies are investment ready?
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah, they range from seed. So we have a couple so every company on the stage, and there are about 45 to 50 of them, during the course of the conversation, at the end of the conversation, as I've done in past years, I'll ask them, are you taking capital now? How much, at what valuation? How much capital have you brought in? How are you going to use the capital? So typically everybody's there they're there for the day as faculty. They present for about 40 minutes. I grill them about what can people in the audience do today from a therapeutic standpoint, but then what can they do as investment? I'll give you another example. A company called Xthera out of San Diego is got a new blood filter. Hard to talk about as a blood filter, but it's a device that has the equivalent of a football field of a material called a glycocalyx, which if you have cancer, this technology will filter the cancer cells out of your blood. It also can filter out the spike proteins from long COVID, microplastics, any infectious agents, and it literally is miraculous. As a physician, I'm like just blown away. And all the doctors, we have a number of doctors who are come on this trip. And so,
is this something you plug yourself into and sit for 6 hours? And
it's something like that. You go for this process just like a therapeutic plasma exchange, or. But here's the interesting part. So number one, it's got immediate action from being able to remove circulating tumor cells from your body, which is incredible. Wow. But the thing that they've done, which just blew my mind, is once they've done this and you've filtered yourself, they then take the filtration canister and they can basically use a solution that washes out the cancer cells. And they can then take the cancer cells that they've removed, fully sequence them, fully analyze them, but they then inject the cancer cells into what are called nude mice. They're not mice without clothes, they are mice without immune systems. And God forbid you have cancer, those cancer cells will then grow in the mice. Your human cancer cells will grow inside the mice. And you have now 20 living versions of your cancer that you can try different drugs on them to see which therapeutics will kill your cancer before you try it on yourself, all right? I mean, these are incredible leaps forward.
And creating immunotherapy solutions, I assume, to target those specific cancers.
Exactly. We had amazing presentation on a technology called bacteriophage, these are viruses that infect bacteria versus viruses that infect eukaryotic or human cells. And this is, well, we have all of these superbugs that are resistant to all the antibiotics out there. They're not resistant to bacteriophage. And so turns out our planet is swimming, I memorized this number, 10 to the 31 bacteriophage on this planet, which means a billion, trillion bacteriophage on planet Earth. Anyway, some of those are specific for every single bacteria. So if you have a very bad bacterial infection, rather than giving yourself antibiotics, which are awful for you, right? Our mitochondria are ancient bacteria, these antibiotics can also impact your mitochondria poorly. You can give yourself a bacteriophage specific for your infection and kill them and wipe them out because they don't infect human cells. So, I mean, we just had 50 amazing companies across the board on these. So our next trip, if any of your LPs, investors are interested and want to join, our next trip is October 9 through 13. It's in the Bay Area and San Diego. I'll give you guys my email address, and you can email me, and I'll introduce you to my team. It's peter@xprize.org, peter@xprize.org.
And CC me, everyone, so I can just kind of stay on it for you as well.
Yeah, and we have 7 seats open on the trip. We have 33 in place, 7 openings for the trip, and happy to offer since we're close to our date, happy to offer a 5K discount for KittyHawk investors. So
thank you.
Yeah, it is honestly the most extraordinary experience. You will live. We call it a virtual blue zone, because for 5 days you're living in a mindset, the food, the exercise, the meditation, and the knowledge you're getting is off the charts.
So you had a pretty extraordinary target in terms of how old you want to live to. Where are you currently?
So I'm 63 right now, and I truly feel like I'm in my best shape ever, from a mindset, from a strength, from my ability, to do whatever I need to do. I've got 2 13-year-old twin boys. What Will is referring to is when I was in medical school, I did a joint MD at Harvard and engineering degrees at MIT. And I set a ridiculous target of 700 years, which I agree is a ridiculous number, because if you can, honestly, at 63, if I can make it to 93, 30 years from now, which I will, the breakthroughs we're going to see over the next 30 years will give you a near indefinite lifespan. And I believe that, this idea of longevity escape velocity. So I speak about it publicly now, and not to people like yourself who know my inner secrets. I talk about living long enough to intercept longevity escape velocity. And, I have removed alcohol, I removed sugar, most all sugar if I can. I'm high in protein. I added 10 pounds of muscle mass last year. Now my job is to maintain my muscle mass, and I'm basically focused on sleep, diet, exercise, mindset, and then I am utilizing a number of the Bridge 2 technologies that we learn about during these trips when they reach a risk-reward level, that they are high enough reward, low enough risk, and they're getting there. It's amazing.
Can you share a little bit about what you're doing from a supplementation perspective, or if you're doing rapamycin or metformin or any of those good things?
Yeah, so I I am taking rapamycin. It's probably the one drug, and it's a drug, not a supplement, that is believed to have the highest impact on longevity. I put out a blog, which you can get. The blog is titled "Why I Take 75 Pills Per Day," and so my pill pack's right here, and I do take 75 pills. And I have a book coming out in December, Longevity Playbook, which outlines what I take and why I take it in detail. But you can go to diamandis.com/blogs, and you can get a copy of that blog. And so there are, 10 to 12 hallmarks of aging, and these are believed to be the reasons we age. Everything from stem cell exhaustion to mitochondrial dysfunction. And for each of those, there are a set of supplements which are designed to slow those down. So I've created a supplement program in connection with my functional medicine doctor. I don't do these on my own. I do them with my physicians. I have an amazing medical team from Fountain Life. And we build it out. And every quarter, I repeat my blood tests, and we review the numbers, and I modify my supplements. So I'm constantly modifying this to optimize things. I do rapamycin 6 milligrams once a week, and for 3 months, then I take a month off and then repeat. But there's a blog you can get, and you can look in detail what I take and why, for those who are interested. But everybody's different.
Have you noticed like a difference in how you feel and how you're operating and flowing through life as a result? I mean, it's tough with some of these things, right? Because it really is a very
it's tough, but
game.
I'm running my 20 and 30-year-old team members into the ground. So I think I'm fully optimized, and I'm up at 5:30 every morning, and I'm going till 9. I'm in bed at 9:30. I do my 8 hours of sleep. I'm up. I'm at my routines. I'm meditating. I'm getting my red light therapy. I'm doing my high interval training or my resistance training, and I'm just on. So
That's awesome. Well, I see it in you every time I see you, so it's very inspirational.
Thank you, pal.
So I was thinking about last year's trip, and we got to spend some time visiting Dean Kamen and learning about what was happening on the regenerative medicine side. I thought it might be interesting for people to kind of hear from you as to what's happening there and really incredible progress that's being made.
Happily. So my Longevity Platinum trip alternates coasts. So this October, next month, is on the West Coast, in San Francisco for 3 days and San Diego for 2 days. Next year, it's on the East Coast in Boston, Cambridge, New Hampshire. And Dean Kamen is one of the people we visit with every time. So every 2 years, we see an update on what he's doing, as well as David Sinclair and George Church's lab and so forth. But Dean is one of the most extraordinary. He has like 1,500 patents. He's the most celebrated inventor on the planet. And he's known, unfortunately, for the Segway scooter, which is like the least significant thing he's ever done. And he just got, for example, a in-home dialysis machine approved by the FDA to really crush the dialysis industry, which is evil, and just there's so many problems with it. But about 4 years ago, he got a contract from the Defense Department to develop something incredible. They said, can you build the ability to manufacture human organs? And he pulled some incredible individuals in, and the answer was yes. So he's built something called ARMI, the Advanced Regenerative Manufacturing Institute, ARMI. And it's in Manchester on the river. And on the river in Manchester are all of these large buildings that used to be giant looms that would manufacture clothing and materials. It's one of the biggest clothing manufacturing places on the planet, run by water wheels. And he's bought all those buildings, and instead of producing wools and fabrics and clothing, it's going to manufacture organs. And so how does he do that? he built the ability. So like a decade plus ago, Dr. Yamanaka out of Japan discovered something called induced pluripotent stem cells. And what he found was if I can take one of your cells and give it 4 transcription factors, which are genes that generate a protein in the cell, that cell will go from a differentiated skin cell into what's called induced pluripotent stem cell. So it goes from a skin cell that's only a skin cell to a stem cell, an induced pluripotent stem cell. It can become any tissue in the body. So he'll take a skin cell, he'll put it through a iPSC process, then he'll grow a whole bunch of these induced pluripotent stem cells, and then he will induce them, or his team will induce them to become kidney or liver or heart. And he's built the process to then manufacture these organs. And it sounds insane, but he's working with folks like Martine Rothblatt to create lungs and kidneys, with Doris Taylor to create pediatric hearts. He's created bone ligament bone segments. He's creating islet cells for pancreatic, insulin production. He's creating skin. And at the end of the day, I want you to think about the notion that in the future, if you need spare parts, you're going to be able to produce them. And the analogy, of course, he uses is, he'll show you a photograph of a 1914 Ford Model T, if that's the right year, or 1920, whatever, that's dilapidated and old and rusted, and one that looks like brand new. And the reason it looks like brand new is it's been maintained. You were able to manufacture the parts and replace the parts and replace the paint. And so the question is, can we create a future in which we can, replace our organs as they wear and tear? And it's not a matter of if; it's only a matter of when. So that's the incredible work of Army and Dean Kamen.
Yeah, it was just amazing. One of the other things I was really struck by was he's created these machines that allows organs to basically kind of live indefinitely and to easily transport them around the world.
Yeah,
which was just extraordinary.
Yep, for sure. I mean,
he's one of the real true gifts to the world. I mean, what an extraordinary human being.
I fly.
His life to move us forward.
I fly Tuesday morning to go meet him in Greece.
Nice.
He's First. He's the creator of First Robotics. If you're a parent listening to this, you might know your kids in First Robotics. Well, there's a global competition that occurs with teams from every nation on the planet. And it goes to a different country every year. This year, it's in Greece, in Athens, at the ancient Olympic Stadium. So I'm going to be giving the opening keynote with him and a keynote at one of the top museums on longevity. So if anybody's in Greece this coming week, look me up.
Amazing. So Peter, why don't you? Doesn't look like we have any questions here, so I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah.
Why don't we finish things up here talking about mindset?
Yeah.
Like one of the things that's been most impactful to me and what I've really taken away from my exposure to you over all these years is the importance of mindset and the ability to shift one's mindset and the implications that can have.
Thank you, buddy. I do think it's the most important thing. And let me just say to everybody listening, I'm super grateful to have Will Weisman as a friend, as a business partner, and love your vision, your work, and love co-investing with you. So I'll ask everybody a question. If you were to ask yourself, think of your favorite leader, Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, whoever it is, and you said, what made them an amazing leader? Was it the money they had? Was it the tech they had? Was it the friends they had? Or maybe was it the mindset they had? I think everybody would answer, it's the mindset they have, right? Their mindset determines how they react to opportunities or challenges. And it's not luck that Elon's doing everything he's doing over and over again. It is his mindset, the way he analyzes data and the decisions he makes. And so if you agree that mindset is the most important asset you have, next question is, what mindset do you currently have? And where did you get it? We all have a mindset. We have a longevity mindset. We think we're going to be dead by a certain point. We have a scarcity mindset, a fear mindset. Some of these mindsets developed on the savannas of Africa 100,000 years ago. Some developed from your parents or grandparents. And once you ask yourself the question, what mindset do you have? The next question is, to succeed in the decade and decades ahead, what mindset do you need? And how do you get that mindset? And I teach that as part of my Abundance 360 ecosystem and Abundance Platinum. And again, I welcome all of you to consider joining me on that journey. But I think of the mindsets that I teach and care about deeply are a curiosity mindset. Like if you're trying to learn about AI, your curiosity mindset is your number one asset. Sit down in front of ChatGPT and just ask question after question after question. It is the most patient teacher on the planet, and it'll take you from zero knowledge as high as you want to go without ever making you feel like you're stupid or unchallenged, whatever. It's amazing. Then is a abundance mindset. You know, there is nothing truly scarce in the world, nothing truly scarce. And next is a purpose-driven mindset. You know, Will, you've got that. That's what we talk about and teach. You know, having a massive transformative purpose that wakes you up in the morning, keeps you going through the day to make a difference on this planet, right? Go for a moonshot. I then talk about an exponential mindset during this exponential age, because our brains are local and linear thinking devices, but we're living in a world that's not local and linear, it's global and exponential. And so you have to shift your mindset. I then talk about a moonshot mindset. How do you go 10 times bigger, 1,000%, when the rest of the world's looking for 10%? And then finally, a longevity mindset. It's really being clear that life is short until you extend it, right? That this is the most exciting time ever to be alive. And, you know, that's, for me, that's mindset. My longevity playbook will come out end of this year. And then the next book in mid 25 is called Mindset Mastery, which I've been pregnant with for 2 or 3 years. And I'm excited to get out. Anyway,
I can't wait to read it.
Yeah.
Incredibly grateful to you, my friend, for your time today, for your friendship and support. So impressed with the impact you're having on the world, and look forward to seeing you continue to have that impact for the next 650 years, however the math works. Anyway, lots of love to you. Thanks everyone for joining. I apologize for the echo on my end, but we look forward to connecting with you all soon.
Thank you, everybody. Be well.
Bye-bye.